Greetings, members of the Midnyte Society. We all know Reddit has no shortage of Am I the A-hole stories, but did you know there's a special subreddit where they curate the worst of the worst? Today we're going to take a look at 4 stories that made their way to Am I the Devil? Reddit overwhelmingly voted these people the a-hole, but let's have a listen and decide for ourselves.
Am I the a-hole for attempting to defend my family after a moment of weakness? My best friend and her brother speak English, French, and Arabic. I think it's pretty cool, because I only speak English, and I have no problem with it at all. I do feel a little insecure when I go to her house, and her entire family speaks in Arabic, and I have no clue as to what they're saying. It also sounds like they're making fun of me. But I know that's just me being a little crazy. Anyways, I invited them to my house for Christmas, after I told my parents they don't celebrate, and they insisted I invite them, and most of my family members liked them, or didn't really care for them. I do have a few relatives that are more narrow-minded, but they didn't seem to have an issue with them either until my best friend and her brother started speaking in Arabic. My aunt yelled at them doing the whole, "We speak English in America," rant while 2 uncles started to accuse them of discussing terrible things. I admit, this was bad. My dad told our relatives to shut up, or get out, which pissed off my aunt, and then they started to fight, and long story short, Christmas was ruined and everyone left. My parents reassured my friends and I did as well, but while we were waiting for their parents to pick them up, my best friend's brother said my relatives are the worst white people they've ever met, and I responded with, well, you can't blame them for being wary about someone speaking in a foreign language that they can't understand. I didn't mean to excuse my relatives, but I also didn't like how he just automatically made it seem like my entire family is so bad and the worst. Yes, they reacted badly, but my aunt and the 2 uncles are actually super nice, and aren't bad people at all. It was a moment of weakness, ignorance you could say. He said something in Arabic to my friend. I'm 99% sure it was directed at me, and when I asked him what he said, he sarcastically asked if he scared me. Which isn't what I meant. My best friend didn't say a word, but she hasn't spoken to me since and is clearly avoiding me. Her brother also makes it a point to speak in Arabic. When he sees me and is making his white friends yell Arabic words when they're around me as well. I do think he's overdoing it, and isn't helping his case at all, but I'm afraid what I said might have crossed into bigoted and racist territory. My friend once told me intent makes all the difference when it comes to racism or ignorance, and I didn't have any bad intentions. I was just trying to help them understand where my relatives were coming from. But she just seems to dislike me now. Am I the a-hole? Me, my best friend, and her brother are all 17 for context. They were also born and raised here, but their parents don't speak English.
Yeah, dude, you are definitely the a-hole. You are just as racist as they are, obviously. Like, why are you defending their moment of weakness, quote unquote? People don't have moments of weakness like that. They're just straight up racist, and clearly so are you.
Am I the a-hole for firing my nanny for feeding my kids expired food? Last May, my 38 female husband, 39 male, and I hired a nanny. Up until this incident, she's been perfect. She loves our kids like her own, buys them gifts, just goes above and beyond. Which is one of the things that made this decision hard. Today, around 3 a.m., our kids woke up extremely sick. Throwing up and diarrhea. They were completely fine before. After hours of comforting, I went to the kitchen and saw the naan bread we buy was expired. As was the cheese, tortillas, and beans. I texted the nanny asking everything they ate the day before, and she let me know they had eaten bean and cheese tacos for their meal and naan bread for a snack. I snapped at her for feeding my kids expired food. She was upset and apologized, but said she didn't know and wouldn't have assumed, because my husband and I, ate them too. She then said it wasn't her responsibility to make sure nothing was expired, considering we get groceries every Monday. She was blaming us for our babies being sick. I told her not to bother coming in, and that I need to seriously think about her employment. I could hear her crying and she hung up. Now an hour ago, I made the decision to fire her and texted her. She just asked about how the kids were doing. My husband is calling me unreasonable, and so are my mother-in-law and sister. Am I the a-hole here?
I think everybody is the a-hole here. I'm not exactly sure how this post ended up on Am I the Devil, because I don't think that the mother is extremely in the wrong for being upset that the kids were fed expired food. The nanny should have looked. I have worked as a babysitter and a child caregiver in my life, and I would look at the food before I give it to the kids. I would look at the food before I give it to my own kid. Why wouldn't I do that for somebody else's kids? However, why you got expired food in your pantry? You shouldn't have fired her. It should have been a talk. So yeah, everybody kind of sucks here.
Am I the a-hole for assigning the easier tasks to one of my group project members? I, 21 male, am in my final year of a computer engineering degree and am taking a course with a major project component. It is kind of open-ended as long as it involves certain things, and my team decided to design and build a certain kind of autonomous robot. I'm kind of the de facto leader in the group as I have experience in robotics. I had a team of 3, but then my professor added a 4th person onto our team, because she couldn't find a group, and had submitted a project proposal of an autonomous robot as well. We are doing something highly ambitious, and I know the members I selected are competent. It is a small program, and I know most of the good students, and most people know others. However, she has always been alone except in year 1. I assigned her the tasks that are less complex, like setting up the repository and working on the generic parts of the report. However, she got upset at this and called me an a-hole. Then she completes her tasks quickly on purpose to show that she has nothing to do. I've had bad experiences before with randomly assigned people. For example, in first year, I had a random partner for a project, who also happened to be the person who always sat next to my current random partner, and she agreed to use a different programming language than what was taught with me for the project, but then did sloppy work that I had to mostly redo. After that, I had a whole situation with the professor when my partner accused me of intentionally doing the project differently even though she had agreed to it. I was eventually cleared of any wrongdoing, and I think the professor gave her a 0. Pretty sure she dropped out, or changed her major the following semester. Even though I was in the clear, it was very stressful to deal with. The current partner, I have also had joined our university robotics team for a year, but she never really made friends there. She just did work like it was a job, and quit the group after a year. Besides, I barely spoke to her there. Am I actually the a-hole here? I really don't want to risk things. I understand the tasks may be mundane, but it is a nightmare when people don't do things properly. Then I have to take over near the deadline, as they won't admit they are struggling from the beginning.
Oh my god, bro, you are the a-hole here. You are a giant a-hole here. You didn't even once check in with this person to see potentially what they're capable of. They're probably smarter than you, and from the sounds of your story, maybe you're afraid of that.
Am I the a-hole for sleeping with a brother's girlfriend? Throwaway account. I, 20 male, live in a fraternity house with 25 other guys. One of my brothers who lives off campus has been dating a new girl for about 2 months, and she's around quite a bit. She's a nice girl, very attractive, and always a bit flirty with me. We actually all met the same night at a house party, but he made a move first. No biggie, good on him. We had a New Year's Eve party at the house for guys that didn't go home over the break or are local. He showed up with her, let's call them Joe and Mary, and we were having a good time drinking quite a bit. At one point late in the night, after most people had cleared out, or were going to bed, we went up to my room to smoke a little of the devil's lettuce. We're all feeling pretty good, and Joe starts making comments about Mary's outfit, saying how good she looks, etc., and I agreed. Then he mentioned how she just got waxed and is totally bare, down there. I'm just like, okay, thinking this is getting weird, but Mary didn't seem embarrassed or anything, and Joe goes, show him. She proceeds to start doing a striptease. Now I'm sitting there like, what in the hell is going on? After everything came off, she gets on the couch with Joe and starts making out with him. After about a minute of awkwardness, I give the all well and slap my knee, saying I should probably go to bed, giving them the cue to get out, because this is super weird. Mary then grabs my knee and says, we don't have to leave. I look at Joe and ask, are you serious? And he just looks at me and shrugs. So I'm sitting there drunk, high, and shocked, faced with a serious dilemma. On the one hand, I very much wanted to do the deed with Mary, but on the other hand, I definitely didn't want to do it in the same room, or at the same time as Joe. I started weighing the pros and cons, and as much as I wanted to get with Mary, she's only like 5 feet tall. Even if we got on opposite ends, we'd still be really close to each other. I don't see how you don't get some incidental contact, totally avoid eye contact, or have another dude's fluids on my couch, or worse. Also, how are you supposed to hang out normally after that? Tempting as it was, it just seemed a little too homosexual for my taste, but it's cool if that's your thing. So I said, no man, you gotta go, I'm going to pass out. She got dressed and they left. Maybe 2 hours later, I get a knock on the door. I roll out of the loft and find Mary at the door. She asks to come in. I let her in and she says Joe is blackout drunk on the couch downstairs, and she wanted to know if she could sleep in my room. I said no problem and started setting up the couch for her, but then she said she'd rather share the bed. I said excuse me, and she said she was all worked up, but Joe passed out too drunk to do anything, so she came to see if I was up. Now, I'm not the kind of guy who would get with a friend's girlfriend, but I figured he literally shrugged its shoulders at the idea just a few hours earlier. So he probably doesn't give a shit, right? And she's certainly willing. So we end up doing the deed and falling asleep. I wake up to her phone ringing and shortly after a pounding on the door. I open it and it's Joe and his big mad. Mary starts in with nothing happened, but I wasn't about to lie to the guy. I said yeah, we hooked up. I didn't think you cared after last night. He was ready to fight, until people heard the commotion in the hall and got between us. Anyway, he's super angry, broke up with Mary and blames me. She's upset, because I'm not taking her calls and she's not welcome at the house anymore. But honestly, I'm really not trying to fuel more drama. The guys in the house are pretty equally divided as to who was in the wrong, and Joe's not speaking to me. Although thankfully, he's stopped trying to fight me at least. I think he should have expected something like that to happen if you go offering up your girlfriend, and he should get over it. Am I the a-hole here?
I don't know if there's a whole lot to say here. You're obviously the a-hole, dude. He was there for the other part. He was there giving consent. He did not give consent for you to interlope on his relationship when he was not there. A threesome is a very different thing from you just sleeping with his girlfriend. Oh my God, you are the a-hole. So yeah, it's pretty clear to me why each and every one of these posters ended up on Am I the Devil? Some of the stories even had additional assholes, like the racist family and the girlfriend who cheated on her boyfriend with his buddy. I want to know who you think is the biggest a-hole we heard about, or maybe you have a wildly different opinion. I want to hear about that too. Drop a comment below with your thoughts. Make sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for so many more stories. Until next time, members of the Midnyte Society, stay curious, stay brave, and don't be an a-hole.